And we are live. God bless everybody. This is Elder J. Miller, the host of Dirty Church Radio, Unrestricted Conversations. And we are here today with the entrepreneur, the motivator, the builder, the one who God uses to resurrect things that have been dead in decay and bring life back to it, man. One of the individuals in the city of Trenton, man, that is doing great things, man, bringing restoration to the city, bringing restoration to families. And we got him here today, man, our brother in Christ, our brother in brotherhood, Andre Williams, man. What's good with you, brother?
Oh, man, brother. That was an amazing introduction, Doc. I just want to say thank you, man. Thank you, man.
Yeah, man.
I am honored, to come onto your show. I remember listening to your show going back maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. And this one we were just, doing it over the phone. You know what I mean? And I would just listen in. I wouldn't say much. I would just call and listen in. And
wow.
I am glad that you, man, fly on the wall sometimes. That's how we learn. But to see what you have grown into, is a blessing to me, man. It really is a blessing to me. So, when two like-minded individuals can come together and bring a message such as this, man, and you thought of me. I am very appreciative, and I am honored, man. I thank God for you, brother. Thank God for you and your family, man, and your listening audience. Yeah.
Listen,
so
man.
To God be the glory.
To God be the glory. Listen, we're thankful, man, to have you on here. Like I said, man, you're an entrepreneur. You're author books. Have a music company, you have a daycare, you have your own contracting company, you have your own trucking company. And guess what? Guess what's above all of that? I know for sure that you love God, and without God, none of all that stuff would be possible, man. So that's why we had to have you on here.
Jay. Yes, sir.
You, man.
Yes, sir.
I feel you on here.
God uses that as a tool. That's all.
As a tool.
He uses all of that stuff just as a tool to get people to him. You know what I mean?
That's a great thing, man.
It's just a tool, brother. It is.
Well, check, right? Before we go any further, right? I gave you an introduction, but no one can introduce.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. A little disturbance there, man.
It's all right. It's going in and out.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear now. Yes, sir.
Okay. What I was going to say is, man, I gave you an introduction, but nobody can introduce themselves better than you can.
That's right.
Before we go any further, man, just tell some of the people, a lot of people that may watch this may know who you are, but there are many who don't know anything about you. So just begin to take us on a journey about yourself, just how everything played out, man, and how, you encountered God in your life and how God began to pour vision into you and create this scenario that you are now living in life.
Man. I think, again, I'll start with, just introducing myself again. Andre Williams, senior. I live here in Trenton, New Jersey. I have 5 beautiful children. I own several businesses here in the city. And I started doing business going back about a little over 20 years ago. I'm 46, so over just about half my life I've been doing business. I had a record and film company back in the 90s that I started. And during that time, we were doing a bunch of productions and different things like that, singing. I was bringing a lot of the marching bands together through my nonprofit organization, One Heaven Inc. The marching bands from the high schools, the church choirs. I would bring them together, and we would do just different productions at the high schools, at the junior high schools, at the arena. I think during that time it was called the Sovereign Bank Arena. I had a big concert there with Ty Tribbett and Martha Menizzi. And I wanted to, my thing was if the kids could see some of the artists that they listen to and purchase their music and, kind of be on stage with that same artist, it'd kind of give them a vision of what their futures can be. You know what I mean? And we were able to make that happen with Martha Menizzi and Ty Tribbett back then, plus a bunch of other artists just over the last 20 plus years. I began investing in real estate almost as second generation. My father owned properties when I was a child. Before I was even born, he had already built, a couple houses down in Florida. And one of my brothers actually still live in the first house that my dad built. This was going back almost 50 something years. And my oldest brother still live in that house. So, growing up here, I was born in New Jersey, 74. And, at that time, my father and my mother were married and we had a house on Walnut. So I kind of grew up just learning the trade. It was second nature, for dad to have tools and, go into the houses. And once someone moved out of the properties, we'll go in and fix them back up. So growing up seeing hammers and, drills and saws and table saws, and like I just grew up around it. So it was something that was second nature. And I can remember going into properties with him as a child. After a tenant would move out and, sometimes they would leave it a total mess. You know what I mean? But he taught me, and I think it was more or less a gift. I think my dad was just there to nurture the gift. You know what I mean? Because this was obviously something that I was exposed to because of him, and things that he had learned prior to me even being born. It was almost like the perfect recipe for raising someone that would do what I do, 40 years later. You know what I mean? So I would go into these properties with him and immediately I would see the finished product because he would point it out, like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. We're going to take this room, that hole in the wall, we're going to cut that square out, patch it up. We're going to, and the electrical, if something was off, or a socket or a light switch or a light fixture, he would talk me through it, and we would speak it first. And this is the powerful part, because we would speak it first and then complete it. You know what I mean? So it was almost like we created a blueprint of all the things that we wanted to repair during that day that we were going to be at the house. And by the end of the day, man, it was done. So it taught me some valuable lessons on speaking things into existence and to not be afraid of hard work. You know what I mean? So it kind of just, knocked the whole fear. It didn't even exist at that time, because it wasn't nothing that was too hard for us that we couldn't fix. So we didn't fear it. And he would always tell me, if another man built it, we can rebuild it. You know what I mean? If another man visualized it and wrote it on paper, we can follow that blueprint and build what they wrote on paper. And then he, began teaching me about the blueprints and how powerful the blueprints were, and to see things that aren't there. And by writing them and speaking them, you can manifest pretty much anything that we want. And now we're talking about just houses at this time. Yeah. I mean, we're not talking about the spiritual man, but as I got older, I seen how it related to the spiritual man. And so, of course, as I got older and started, speaking about my dreams and visions, dad would encourage it. My mom encouraged it from a spiritual level. My dad was more from, more hands-on, more, a man that don't work, don't eat. He was that kind of a father. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want nobody to give us anything. We just want them to give us the opportunity and we'll do the rest. You know what I mean? So he was that
Yes.
kind of man. And, to this day, when we walk up on properties or we approach these abandoned properties, the confidence that he see me speak to the other guys, it's almost like a reward for him to be able to say, man, like, I don't even have to say much anymore because, you're living the dream that I had for you. You know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
actually living it. It's not just a dream anymore. You're living it. You're breathing it. We're in the midst of it, and he's enjoying it, man. He's enjoying it. But that's where it started, man. Just from being a child, my mom implementing the spiritual side, which was really key. You know what I mean? When my father and my mother did get a divorce later on, I moved with my father, and it wasn't so much that me picking sides. It was just, dad is that hero to me. You know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
I wanted to be in the truck. You know what I mean? I didn't want to ride in cars. I wanted to be in the truck with dad. I wanted to, be in the houses with dad and going fishing. And after fishing, we go and, you know what I mean? Or after we collect rent, we're going to, McDonald's buying milkshakes. Like, I like that routine. So that was good for me, riding on the back of the pickup truck. You can't do that nowadays, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
just to ride right on the back of the pickup truck, man. And it was second nature. It was second nature.
So let me ask you this question, right?
Mm-hmm.
We talked, just hearing you explain a lot of the practical things that your father
Mm-hmm.
instilled in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Take me on a journey. I know you said that your mother, she gave you the spiritual aspect, but take me
Mm-hmm.
on a journey, you as a man encountering
Mm-hmm.
God for yourself. What did that
Man,
look like?
for years, it's almost like some of the things he allowed me to practice, even dealing with like the game Monopoly as a child, playing that. And now when I look back at me having a love for real estate, when I look at me having the love for playing the game Monopoly, I see how strategic God was and how uh, methodical he was in allowing. Now, I'm the only child between my mother and my father. Like, I have older brothers and sisters on my mom's side, and I have, of course, older brothers and sisters on my father's side. Then I got step brothers and sisters. You know what I mean? But between my mother and my father, I'm the only one, and I believe God, you know, being that I was my mother's youngest child, she kind of, I won't say spoiled me, but, almost to the degree of saying, we gotta treat Andre, yeah, I mean, just a little different because, he's back and forth with his dad and, he'll come here and stay sometimes, but then he's always going back with his dad. So the times I was with her in the house, she, kind of made sure I had pretty much whatever I needed. Even when I was at my dad, like I used to get two allowances. I got an allowance from my mom and I got an allowance from my dad. So I think what God was doing was showing me one, how to be disciplined with money as a child, right? Then I think he was showing me that just because the relationship between them two didn't work out, that he still had a plan for me and that he still had a purpose for me. And the purpose was going to be fulfilled if I was obedient. Now, it was times that I was resistant, you know what I mean, growing up. And the business side, he always showed me favor. That's the crazy part. The business side, he always showed me favor. So, in my personal life, I may have made mistakes, some bumps and bruises learning, uh, you know, just things that as a man that we are supposed to do and some of the things we're not, you know what I mean? So it pushed me to the point to where God had to humble me down on a spiritual side. The business side, for some reason, he allowed to keep growing. It was almost like his system took over. And I love God's system. he has his own economic system, and we're all familiar with it because, and the practical is farming. You plant a
Mm-hmm.
seed, and the next
Mm-hmm.
thing you know, depending on whatever seed you plant, whether it's an apple or orange, you're going to get a harvest for that apple or orange tree. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And in the spiritual realm, it's the same exact way. God plants seeds, but he needs for us to be obedient. The obedience is what waters that seed. So even though the seed was planted in the spiritual, as just like it was in the natural kept going. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But in the spiritual, it was certain things that he had to, wean out of me almost and weed out the garden. You know what I mean? Like, so the seed was
Yeah.
there, but he was like, there's some things I got to weed out because you still carnal in some ways. You're not receiving everything that I got for you because of your carnality. You know what I mean? And so in order for me to do that, I'm going to have to teach you some things. And in teaching you some things, I'm going to have to take some things away from you. You know what I mean? And, it became a hunger for me. It became a desire for me to study, to get to know God for myself. I couldn't rely on what mama was taught. You know what I mean? Like it was good that she did her part. She introduced me to God. But as a man, I had to study for myself. How it says study, so that you can learn my ways. You know what I mean? And that's what I had to do. I had to study God. I had to study Jesus. I had to look at the example that he set in just life, period. You know what I mean? Think about it. In order for this man, you know what I mean, to get 12 grown men to follow him, you had to have something special because he took some men off their business. Peter was a fisherman. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, he took him out of a business and said, "Follow me." Yeah, I mean, put down your rod and follow me. I'm gonna make you fisher of men. But Peter still had responsibilities. He still had a wife. He still had children. He still had land. He still had employees. He still had
Yes.
merchandise and boats and yeah, I mean, and the evidence of that was when he asked Peter, "Can I use your boat?" Right? When he first said, "Can I use your boat? I want to go out and speak to the people. They're too close to me, so they can't hear me. But if you let me use your boat, I'll be able to, get the word out." And so as Peter, uh, said yes, you know what I mean? After a long day, he said, "Yes, you can use my boat. Go ahead and take it." And Christ, used Peter boat. He went out and he spoke the word. He preached the word, and a lot of lives were changed. And once he came back to shore, he told Peter, "Of course, thank you for allowing me to use your boat." And he said, "Peter, I want you to go back out there." You know what I mean? And Peter said, he was tired. He had toiled all night and, he wanted to go home, I'm sure. But because of Peter's consistency and being obedient, the first obedience when he said, "Let me use your boat," Peter said, "Yes, you can use it." The second obedience when he said, "Now go back out there and cast your net." And Peter
Mm-hmm.
cast his net and he was like, "There's nothing out here." Even though he was a little, resistant in the beginning, but he said, "Well, cast it on the other side." And Christ knew what was out there, but he was testing Peter. So
Mm-hmm.
as he casted it on the other side, his net became full to where his boat began to, the nets began almost breaking, and Peter had to call his partners to come help him. So now when Peter called his partners' nets began to look like Peter's nets, just by
Just
association.
that's right. Connection. That's right.
Connection. So when God started showing me the word for himself, that's where Bass Contracting comes from. That's the name of my company, Bass Contracting. Teach a man to fish is our motto. Bass is the fish itself, you know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
when God gave me the name, teach a man to fish, instead of giving a man a fish, Christ could have said, "Here, I'm gonna just give you this." But he wanted to see if Peter was going to be obedient and go back out there and toil just a little bit more. That's all he wanted. Let me see you work for what you seeking. And because you didn't see it the first time, now that you are with me and I see that you're with me, I'm gonna show you favor like you haven't seen before. And that's what God was revealing to me through those scriptures. And once I began to get that, man, and it began sinking in that. we got a lot of work to do, but as long as we do it the way that God tell us to do it and stop trying to, do things the way the world tells us to do it, because sometimes we could get discouraged and the world could say
Yes.
one thing and the reality can say one thing and the current market can say one thing. But when God say you go and you buy that house, I don't care what the market says, you buy it. I'm gonna send you what you need to get to complete it, but I need you to be obedient and go. Yeah, I mean, and once we do that, go ahead.
No, that's the point that
Yeah,
I really want to talk about, as
yeah,
getting
yeah,
us as men to get to a spiritual place where we
yeah,
actually can hear God.
yeah,
Because
man.
that's the key, getting to a
Yeah,
place where we can
yeah.
hear God, because a lot of times we're only hearing
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. We only hearing
Mm-hmm.
other people. We're only hearing our
Mm-hmm.
certain, what our opposition was in front of us. We're only hearing our past. But the
Mm-hmm.
knowing what the voice of God sounds like in your heart, your mind, in your spirit, and obeying
Mm-hmm.
that. That's why we had to start this four-part series with
Yes.
spirituality. Now, we're doing a
Yes.
four-part series: spirituality,
Yeah.
mentality,
Yeah.
um, physically, and
Yeah.
financially. So tonight
Absolutely.
we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about spirituality.
Yes.
So right now, what are some keys? Right now, let's just say right now we're talking, and
Yeah.
every man that's listening,
Mm-hmm.
every man in the world, they can hear us. They can hear this conversation right now. All right.
Right.
What level of importance will you put on the importance of having a spiritual walk with God and allowing your spirit man to awaken, to allow your
Beautiful.
spiritual ear to
Yeah.
awaken, getting
Yeah.
to a place where you won't just hear
Mm-hmm.
what pleasures you, but hear
Mm-hmm.
what will change not just you, but your
Mm-hmm.
generations to come. Actually
Yeah.
being truly guided by the voice of God. How
Yeah.
much would you stress the importance of a man having a spiritual walk with God?
Well, first I would say, to that man that one, let's go back to the story of creation, okay? And I would take him back to the beginning. The reason I would do that is because, without a solid foundation, we can't build a house or we can't build a person. So the spirituality is the foundation of humans, period. So when you look at Genesis 1:26 through 28, basically it's saying, and God said, let us make man in our own image. That's powerful in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Let us make man in our own
Own
image.
image.
So not even going to the other parts of the verse itself. Let's just think about that. If
Image.
every man realized what his true image was, his life would change. Every woman, if she realized what her true image was, her life would change. So he's telling you, let us make man in our, this is God saying, I'm going to make you just like me. So when I look at you, I want to be able to see me.
That's right.
So that means now you have to put down all the carnality things that we learned, all the cultural things that will drive us away or divide us from our purpose or divide us from the source that created us.
That's right.
We have to go back to the basics and remove all of those distractions and say, let me just focus on this for a hot, yeah, I mean, for just a little bit of time so I can understand what my purpose here on earth is. Our
Mm-hmm.
purpose, I'll read a little bit further. Let us make man in our own image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth.
All the earth.
All the earth. and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. This is telling you where we have to take things back to in order for us to become the men that God wants us to be. Now, I'm just reading one of the verses that, of course, is in every Bible. Yeah, I mean, but when I was writing this book, God said, I need you to put this in your book because some people may not get to the Bible. And for those people that haven't been taught the Bible, you're teaching real estate investment strategies, but you got to start with the basics. So this is the first thing that they read when you open up my book, fresh out of the table of contents. We want to hear what God says about you being made in his image, because I want you to know who you are. And
That's
then the power that you have being in his image and the dominion that he gave you. So when you think about dominion, let's dissect dominion for a minute. It means to dominate the earth, take control, to govern, to own.
That's
right? So dominate, take control, ownership, management. That's our purpose. It's not over people. That's where we mess up, because we tend to want to dominate people. And that's not what God said. He said, let us make man in our own image. So he's telling you every man is created in his image. But at some point in time, we lost our way. We unlearned. So when we think about creation, you think about your baby. When your baby first come home, you're looking at your baby. You and your wife are nurturing, you're caring, you're loving. You're giving the baby all the good things, all the nutrients, all the things that they need. You're careful who you have around your baby. You're not letting just anybody come in your house, pick up your baby, kiss on your baby, hold your baby. You remember, now, especially when they had perfume or dirt on their clothes, or then you tell them, hey man, you gotta go in there and wash your hands. I want you to be clean before you even approach my child. And then you still might not get a chance to hold the baby, because the baby's skin is just that sensitive. And as parents, as good parents, we don't want for our children to be mishandled or given something that's going to hurt them. So we're very protective of them. But they have all the love in the beginning that they will need really to get through life. But somewhere along the way, the teachings begin to change, because other people now get involved with helping to raise your child, whether it's the school, whether it's other family members, whether it's a babysitter, and they're instilling, hey, that's yours. Take that back, or don't let nobody hold your stuff, or no, you can't tell everybody your business, or no, you can't trust everybody. Now we instilling and imparting fear in this child, fear of sharing, fear of dreaming. You've been in places where you hear, oh, you can't do that. Oh, what makes you think you can do that? Nobody in your family own a McDonald's, or nobody in your family own apartment complexes, or you know what I mean? So they begin to learn these bad behaviors that eventually stunt their growth.
And that's
it eventually smothers that light. Now coming out, like I said, even in my book, as a child, I was fearless. My dad was on the roof. I'd get on the roof right next to him while he patching up the roof. I'm 6, 7 years old. He used to have to tell me, all right, Andre, don't go too close to the edge. You know what I mean? Because I was fearless. This was me coming straight from God saying, here I am. You know what I mean? And God pouring all his love, and I didn't have any fear. I didn't have any limitations. My dreams were I could do what my dad is doing in my mind. Now, I may not have been ready. You know what I mean? But the fear part didn't exist. So I had to learn to be careful, to be, you know what I'm saying? I had to learn, all right, you can't touch that because that's sharp. But as a child, you don't know. All you know is it's open.
You know something that was deep about what you said?
What's that?
When we're made in the image of God, we're made in the likeness of God. Now, a
Yeah,
while ago,
man.
I was watching Dr. Miles Monroe, and he
Yeah.
said something. He broke down the image. He said, when we're made in the image of God, right? Meaning
Yeah.
we're made in with God characteristics. We're
Yeah,
made
man.
with, his attributes. Like we're made
Yes.
with that. But then
Mm-hmm.
when he went to likeness, he broke
Mm-hmm.
down likeness. He says we are made in God's functioning, meaning we
Right.
function like God.
Mm-hmm.
So if our life is being led with fear, if our life is holding
Mm-hmm.
bitterness and unforgiveness, that means
Mm-hmm.
we are malfunctioning because we're not
Absolutely.
functioning in the
Like
proper
God.
order like God,
Right.
how we were created. So
Right.
so if we're living, and this is a deep thing,
Yeah.
if we're living right, and this
Mm-hmm.
is bug, and our
Mm-hmm.
credit is all messed up, and
Mm-hmm.
we're not managing our money right, and we got
Mm-hmm.
things that are just crushing and falling around all around us. That means
Mm-hmm.
something happened, some choice was made, something was said.
Mm-hmm.
We went in a door we shouldn't have, because
Mm-hmm.
when we truly function in
Mm-hmm.
God's order, it
Mm-hmm.
puts us in a place to have dominion wherever we
Mm-hmm.
are, whatever
Right.
atmosphere. And check this: if I lose
Mm-hmm.
my house, right? Let's just say if something happened, you
Mm-hmm.
lost your house. That's
Mm-hmm.
not the example of you losing your dominion.
That's right.
Losing your dominion is when you
Mm-hmm.
lose your mindset, because you
Right.
can get another house, you can build
Absolutely.
another house, you can get
Absolutely.
things. And a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
we put a definition on our
Mm-hmm.
dominion based upon what
Mm-hmm.
we have
Mm-hmm.
versus
Mm-hmm.
how we think, because it's
Mm-hmm.
how you think is how you create. And God
Right.
created us with the ability to create and to
Right.
name things, to,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, to have
Yeah.
complete dominion. Like when we go into an atmosphere with the
Mm-hmm.
likeness of God and the
Mm-hmm.
image of God, that
Mm-hmm.
atmosphere must change. If it's a dead
Absolutely.
atmosphere, when we come there, now life is there. And that's how we
Right.
should function in our mind. That's why I really wanted,
Mm-hmm.
bro, to really
Mm-hmm.
bring you on here to really talk about
Mm-hmm.
the importance of spirituality as men. Because I think
Right.
men, we've been living life a very long time walking around headless, because we haven't
Absolutely.
acknowledged who the true
Mm-hmm.
head is. And
Well, this is the thing, Jay. The only reason we malfunction is because we've been taught to malfunction. It's a learned behavior.
wow,
So until we unlearn it, it's impossible to get back there. So these teachings, these platforms is key. I know some people that will read just what I read out of Genesis, and
hmm,
it's a great story to them. It's a story. That's all it is to them.
it's
They
a
don't
story.
apply it.
That's right,
They
application.
don't. They don't. Yeah, they don't apply it. So they will quote all the other scriptures. You know what I mean? All the different slogans and this and still don't apply this. Still don't apply this. And it's not about getting people excited and hyped up just on Sunday. It's not about that. This is about applying the word of God to your life and being a living epistle. Now, the men of the Bible didn't have a Bible to refer to. They were living it.
Living it,
They were
living it.
living it. So now when we think about the creation, if God didn't tell and give instructions to Adam on how to manage his resources, Adam would not have known. He had just been sitting there and we wouldn't know what a grape is. We wouldn't know what an apple is. We wouldn't know what the spinach is, or all these other fruits and vegetables and animals that's on this. We wouldn't know what they were because he was disobedient. But he gave him clear instructions
Clear
and said,
instructions.
this is your work. I need you to do this first. He didn't even give him a woman first. He said, I want you to be on your purpose first. I want you to know what it is to have dominion first.
That's right.
These all of these instructions he gave directly to the man. I
To the
need you
man.
to have this down pat first. And after Adam had did all of that, then he seen that Adam was alone. And Adam
Wow.
didn't have nobody to talk to but these animals and bugs, and you know what I mean, he waiting for the to be in the presence of God again. Yeah, you know I mean, and so God was like, let me give him a helpmeet, but he needs something for that helpmeet to help him with. So that's the only time that it was clear that Adam needed someone else, you know what I mean, to multiply God's image upon the earth. You know what I mean? So now when we
Wow.
think about, yeah, man, it's deep. So now when we think about all the things that we learned, this was cultural stuff. This was natural carnality stuff, man-made rule stuff. You know what I mean? Oh, you got to have a certain score in order for you. God was saying before all of that, I need
Yes.
you to know who you are. I need you to know that you are created in my image. And so once we strip all of that away, because people made mistakes. You know what I mean? My father taught me to buy houses with cash. He didn't teach me to buy houses with credit. So
That's
I
right.
was buying houses with cash, $5,000, $10,000 house. I put 20,000 worth of work in it. I sell it for 100 and something thousand. That's how my dad taught me. It was like, because the era he came from didn't deal with banks.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
came from an era of money in the mattress.
Yeah. Yeah. The mat
Yeah, I
mattress.
mean, yeah, or safe in the house. They came from that. Yeah, I mean, so him teaching me that, it wasn't necessarily to say that that was the wrong way of teaching me real estate. It actually helped me in many ways because I operated outside of what other investors operated. You know what I mean? So they operated in the way that the country said, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to. And as black men and being taught by other black men, it was more be private. You know what I mean? Use your own money, own your own bank. You become your own bank. If you're going to flip somebody money or give somebody an interest, you give people an interest that's related to you. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Help your mom flip some money, help your sisters flip some money, help your cousins flip some money. That's how God started. I mean, allowed my father to teach me the ways of doing it. It wasn't until I was in business, man, almost 10, 15 years. And I'm talking about owning daycares and preschools and the construction company and having a nonprofit. And it wasn't until that time that I started learning personal credit and business credit. Prior to
That's
that, I
right.
was buying houses cash. But I had to learn it. So my dad was limited to what he can teach me about business credit. You know what I mean? Because he just didn't know about it. We didn't operate that way. We started businesses out of our pockets back in them days, the early 1900s, mid 1900s. So now God is saying with the proper instructions, you can operate in my likeness. With the proper instructions, you can take dominion. But if you don't first learn why you were created and learn what your purpose here is on earth and how to maneuver in your purpose, you won't be able to have dominion. You
You know,
won't
I
be
want to
able
put
to,
I want to
yeah.
put a pause right there, right, like
Mm-hmm.
right where you at, because I don't want to lose
Mm-hmm.
this right
Mm-hmm.
here. Now check.
Mm-hmm.
You just talked about how we have dominion, likeness in the image of
Mm-hmm.
God,
Mm-hmm.
and you talked about how God he gave man his work, he gave him his purpose. He let God,
Yes.
he started working, right, and then
Mm-hmm.
God saw that man was lonely, and then he gave him a woman. You know what's so
Mm-hmm.
crazy how we get it now? Like we live
Oh
in a
man.
world right now, it's about get the money. It's about get the money, get the
Yeah.
woman, right?
Yeah.
But no
Mm-hmm.
conversation with God.
Yeah,
You feel
Doc.
what I'm saying? Like it's like all the way
Yeah, Doc.
backwards. It's like it's our aim is go get the money, go get the house,
Mm-hmm.
let's go get these things, right? But as a
Mm-hmm.
man, you never have the conversation with God to give you the work, to give you your purpose, to give you your direction. And I believe the dangerous thing that we've been living as men, as we haven't
Mm-hmm.
had that time in that space with our creator
We
before
need
we
that.
attach ourselves to all these other things.
That's
Because when
right.
you do that, all of these
Mm-hmm.
other things become your
Mm-hmm.
God. They
My
become the thing
God.
that you depend
Right.
on instead of
Mm.
you having that personal time with your
Mm-hmm.
purpose, because God is our purpose because he created us. So
Absolutely.
if we never have as men, and I'm just talking as men, I'm not excluding women, but right now we're
Oh
having
yeah,
a
yeah.
conversation with men because
Right.
men need to get back and we need to have that personal
Mm-hmm.
conversation with the King of Kings and the Lord of
Mm-hmm.
Lords. There are men
That's
right
right.
now, Dre, that are millionaires, right?
Mm-hmm.
They got
Mm-hmm.
the family, they got everything. But you know what they
Mm-hmm.
lack? They
God.
never had
Yeah.
the conversation with God.
Mm-hmm.
They never had that
Mm-hmm.
time, that place in the garden with God by
Mm-hmm.
themselves, and God giving them
Mm-hmm.
instruction of their
Mm-hmm.
real purpose is as a
Right.
man. And I believe
Right.
that is where the spiritual walk, that is where the spiritual
Mm-hmm.
encounter, that's why we're having this conversation, because we need us as men to
Mm-hmm.
have that spiritual encounter with God. Some of us
Mm-hmm.
are we it's a scripture in the Bible, right? I think it's Joshua 1:8. It says, "This book of law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt observe to do according to all that is written therein. For
Mm-hmm.
then thy way shall be made prosperous, and you shall have good success."
Right.
God gave us a blueprint right there.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have a conversation with me. I need you to hear my words and get your words in my heart and in your mind so that your way can truly be prosperous and have good success. Just because you may have millions of dollars, that's not success. That's not success.
Right.
Just because you may have things, it's a delay going on. I can hear the feedback of my voice,
Can you hear
but
me?
I can hear you now. I can definitely hear you,
Okay.
but it's no delay. So it's like we got to get back to that place where we're instructed by God, because God said, "Your way shall be made prosperous, and you shall have good success." That's Joshua 1:8. So he
Yes.
put an emphasis on good success. So that
Mm-hmm.
means there's a difference between a success and good
Right.
success
Right.
in the earth realm. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I believe
I
that
do.
good success comes from us having that spiritual encounter with God, and
Right.
allowing God to pour our true purpose in us so that we can
Mm-hmm.
function in that lane, and that
That's
will
right.
be in the will of God, will be in the
Right.
way of God,
Mm-hmm.
instead of thinking that our way and our agenda and our ambition is the way above the way that God would intend for us to have.
Mm. That's powerful.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
that's powerful.
I just look at that, man, because I think the importance. I'm a man, you a man, and we know what it's like to fall.
Right.
We know what it looks like and feels like when you go against what God is saying. When
That's
you
right.
go out there and you try to go in your own strength and your own knowledge and wisdom and understanding, you try to just stand on those principles alone. That stuff falls through, and next thing you know,
Mm-hmm.
you in a ditch, you in the ocean, and you trying to tread, and you trying to keep from sinking. But when you have the conversation with God, guess what happens, Dre?
Right.
A foundation
Yeah.
is put up under you, where you
Mm-hmm.
have something solid to stand on. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
something, man, that we need to have a conversation with as many men as possible. That we gotta get to our foundational place, because
Right.
so many of us are constantly falling. We're
That's right.
falling because we're standing on weak things. We're standing on uh, weak hopes and weak dreams that are not coming from the Most High. They're
That's
coming
right.
from outside in voice. And you just talked about it, like our families, how so many outside things can invade us other than God being in our heart. So now we're being influenced by other things, other
Mm-hmm.
voices. But we got to get our men, us as men, back to the place where we can hear what
That's right.
God's voice truly sounds like.
Right.
You know what I mean? And know what it
Absolutely.
sounds like, and don't fall for the bribe of the enemy. You know what I
That's right.
mean? Be okey doke, be bamboozled. And some
Right.
of us, man, we've allowed money, we've allowed women, we've allowed our flesh, our desires to
Mm-hmm.
become our God. We done
That's
lifted
right.
it up.
Mm-hmm.
And those gods, man, they fall.
They
Those
do.
those guys, they fall.
They
And
do.
that's why so many of us as men, man, we're in prison, we're in confined space,
Yeah.
we're suffering in
That's right.
silence. You know what I mean? We're destroying from the
Mm-hmm.
end. We're losing our families. We're
Right.
burning bridges. We're
Right.
losing our mind. You got men right here, man, they're thinking thoughts, yo, and they're ending their life.
That's right.
But it's that conversation with the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
That's the very thing, man, that will strengthen us and position us and put us in our rightful place. Our
Right.
rightful place is what God
Right.
created us for, and that is to have dominion.
That's right.
Dominion. And we got to get it
Dominion.
back, man. We got to get it back, man. So give us some keys, Dre. Help us. Help us as men out here. What are some of these keys if we've lost our way and we don't know? We sinking, man. Like that movie
Right.
Get Out. The dude, he
Right.
went and she hypnotized, he was just falling. There's a lot
Right.
of us, man, that are just constantly falling. And we don't
Right.
feel like there's nothing on the bottom. We're just falling. We can't even grab a hold of nothing. We're just in a
Right.
fallen state. How do we get out as men? How do we
Right.
get out? How do we get set free from
Yeah.
our lust, dealing with all types of women and all these different
Mm-hmm.
relationships in and out?
Mm-hmm.
How do we get out from, what I mean, not being to be there for our families, for our children? Like, how do we
Mm-hmm.
escape the prison? How do we escape
Well,
this prison, man?
one of the first things, Jay, you touched on it um in the very beginning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you clear.
Okay. All right. Um, one of the first things is we got to get back connected to the source of creation. The reason we malfunction is because we begin operating just in the natural, and that's where we fall short because we separate ourselves from the source of creation, from the manufacturer. Like you wouldn't send your Apple phone to an Android dealer to repair it. If your Apple phone begins to malfunction, your iPhone, you wouldn't send your MacBook to Hewlett Packard to repair your MacBook because they don't have the instructions on how to repair it. They're not the manufacturers of that book, of that computer, of that laptop, or of that cell phone. So if we can take clear instructions and follow those when it comes to something as simple as a cell phone, we have to begin to do that same thing with our souls. Our souls have to become that important to us that we can say, you know what, let me follow the instructions of the manufacturer that created me. Let me get back connected to the source that created me. And once we can humble ourselves down and get back to that source, God will begin to reveal things to us. All those dreams that we had when we were children of things that we wanted to accomplish and things that God wanted us to do, those were visions and dreams that came from God, but they were snuffed out because we began to separate ourselves from him and begin to listen to man about life. We begin to listen to man about dreams, and God was left out of it because a lot of them didn't know God. They were operating out of greed, out of pride, out of ego. And so what we say about ego is short for easing God out. You know what I'm saying? Then you operating out of fear, that's false evidence appearing real. So now when you're operating in those two elements that have nothing to do with God, God cannot use you to your best best functionality, so to speak. And in order for us to get back to the best use, what we were made for, God know how fast we can run. He know how high we can jump. He know how far we can throw. Yeah, I mean how far we can see. He knows our capacity of what we were built for and what we weren't built for. And he says, I will never put more on you than you could bear. Yeah, I mean, so that's telling you, I know your capacity. Yeah, I mean, when we build properties, there's a certain weight load that we have to follow. And
Mm-hmm.
if we don't follow it, the house can come tumbling down. But when we build from the foundation up and we know how many stories we got to go up, now we know what type of foundation and what type of framing that we have to install on this property in order to get the best use of the property and the longevity of a property. So if it's that easy for us as carpenters and developers to follow a blueprint, we have to begin to do the same thing as men when it comes to our life. So that's my clear, that's my first and best advice. Let's get back connected to the source. Let's spend some time devoting ourselves to God and his will and his purpose. Let's find out why he put us here. We all have so many gifts and talents, and God wants to get the best out of them. But so many men will leave this earth and never realize their talent. One of my biggest fears is living my life wrong, bro. That's
Yeah.
one of my biggest fears when I was coming up. I said, I don't want to get to the end of my life and God look at me and say, like, I don't even recognize you. Like you spent 70 something years on earth and you ain't get none of what I had for you. You lived
None.
your life wrong. You lived your life like this teacher prescribed. Or you lived your life like your homeboys prescribed. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you ain't uh consult with me not one time to get clear instructions on what I have for you. Now you see this huge room right here? Look in that room. All of those boxes were for you. All of those things were for your uncles and your aunts and your granddad. And but I needed for you to fall into place so that your children and your children's children's children, yeah, I mean, and the
That's
children's
right.
children's of your friends and the people that were associated with you. It was some things that I needed you to get so that you can give it to them. But because you were out of place, you made them miss out. So I don't even recognize you. I would hate to get to the end of my life and God tell me that. That's why I yearn after his word. That's why I'm passionate about teaching men how to get back connected to the source. And then all of the other things, he says, seek ye first the kingdom of God. He's telling you, these
That's
are
right.
clear instructions. And all of these
All the
things shall be added unto you. That means any other thing that you desire, he's going to give you the desire of your heart because you're going to be in a place to where you desire the things that he desired for you anyway. So
That's
it's
right.
easy for him to open it up and say, here, take this, take longevity, take peace of mind. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. That's good,
take
man. That's
prosperity. Yeah, I
take it
mean,
all. That's
yeah,
right.
whatever, this all comes with it because you came to me first and you understood why I put you here first. I gotta grab this charger real quick, brother, before my phone die. I don't want it to die on you while we're in the middle of this. So if you could give me
Go
one
ahead.
second,
Go ahead,
I'm
man.
gonna
I
just
got you.
pull away and grab this
Listen.
charger. All right.
Listen, it's a great thing we here talking about, a spiritual walk with God, and that's so important for us as men. Um, like you said, let's get back to the source. Let's get back to the source of who created us. Let's have that conversation so that we can uh, begin to rebuild, to begin to restore who we are. Just like a building, and he's a contractor. Matter of fact, he's the contractor that's fixing my house. And when I got my house had been abandoned for a long time. The house had been abandoned for a very long time. But when you have a vision, when you see something, you know with the right hands touching it that know the structure of a house, that know how to repair things that have been broken, know how to restore things that have been abandoned. And that's the same with some of our lives. Some of our lives have been abandoned. Some of our lives have been broken, even as men. Some of us men, we've been broken in our childhood. And we've survived into manhood, but we still got childhood broken issues. We still got childhood abandonment issues. We still got all these issues. And at the source of it all, the answer to all that we need is at the source of our creation, and that's the Most High. And we got to begin to get to a place where we can have that conversation and believe in your heart that that conversation could take place. Because at the end of the day, God is knocking at all of our hearts. I don't care where you live at, where you from, what you did, what you a part of. God is real. And he is the source and power. He is the reason that we exist. So this conversation, this four-part series that we're doing, dealing with manhood. It's about rebuilding the man. It's about restoring the man. It's about replenishing the man. It's about identifying the gifts in the man. It's about bringing the man back to a place of his true dominion, the reason why God created him. Knowing that he created for us a purpose. He created us to conquer. But check, one of the greatest things that God gave me a revelation on, he told me, he said, the greatest way that you can conquer anything is when you surrender to me. So your greatest conquering in this earth realm and anywhere that exists is when you surrender. So some of us as men, yeah, you need to surrender that hardness. You need to surrender that bitterness. You need to surrender that hatred. Yo, you need to surrender that attitude. You need to surrender that hurt. You need to surrender all of those things that have been keeping you stuck in a prison, in an asylum, has been keeping you trapped, because your conquering is in you surrendering to the Most High God. Because it's nothing that he can't accomplish. It's nothing that he can't accomplish through your life. And a lot of times the choices we are making is just holding up the victories that God already got for us. God
Right.
goes ahead of us. He goes ahead of us. Even though we're praying about a problem, the problem is really already fixed. It's just you have to take your mindset knowing that the God that created me knows every issue, past, present, and future. And regardless of what place I find myself in, he could bring me out of it if he wants to. And if he don't bring me out of it, that means it's a reason for me to be in it. But if I'm in it, when I have that conversation with God, guess what? I'm not in it alone. He's in
That's
it
right.
with me. That's why us as men, we have to reconnect to our spiritual purpose, our spiritual connection with the Most High God, because that is how we truly win. Your money ain't gonna make you win. Your reputation in the streets ain't gonna make you win. It is your true connection with the Most High God that makes you win. You feel what I'm saying, my brother?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I was listening to you, man, God just kept saying to me, submit your ways, submit your ways, humble yourself and submit your ways. And when we do that, we remove barriers. We remove generational curses when we submit our ways to God. That means now he doesn't have to constantly correct something that we were taught that was wrong. He doesn't have to
Mm.
constantly correct something, like you said, that bitterness and that hatred that we carried for so long. He's saying, I'm going to take all of that away. I'm going to remove
Mm.
all of that if you submit your ways. And I'm going to put all of these great things inside of you that you are supposed to do, all of these great people around you that you are supposed to meet. Because the one thing about God is he's going to always have a relationship where he needs to use people to do his will. You're
Hmm.
not sitting here to do it on your own. Um, One of the scriptures, when it talks about the abundance, it talks about being shaken together, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Shall men give unto your bosom? He's telling you, yeah, you'll be able to do all of these things, but you need the cooperation of other men that will give unto your bosom, because when they come, they're going to recognize that you are in tune, that you
That's right.
are in agreement, and you are in alignment. So it's going to be easier for them to help you, easier for them to advise you, easier for them to guide you and give you what God has given them for you. Because sometimes, God, He can't just drop all this knowledge on us at one time, because it'll be too much for us. So He kind of spoon feed us, but it's up to us to digest it and use it, and then keep moving. Like I told you earlier, I thirst for it. I hunger for it. And it doesn't matter how many businesses I have, it don't matter how many properties I own. I thank God for them all, but I know that they're His properties.
Yeah.
These things came because of Him. It wasn't because of me. I didn't go to college to be a daycare or preschool teacher. You know what I mean? I didn't go to
Yeah.
college to become a general contractor. I didn't get a degree and spend time in school to get any of these, contracts and properties and apartment complexes and like I didn't go to school to learn that. This was stuff that I learned from associating myself with God first, and hearing Him clearly when He said move on an opportunity, or He said speak to someone. And from there, people just begin to show favor because they were under God's instructions, whether they knew it or not. God already saw, I need for this to take place so that these people can come together and have this security. And, so at the time He was giving me these dreams and visions, He was already ahead of time, making sure that these teachers would be in a place to where when our paths cross, they would be ready.
They would be
But in
ready.
order for me to get to that point, I had to be obedient to say, yes, God, I submit. Yes, God, I won't have any
Wow.
fear. When you tell me to go in that direction, I'm not going to be fearful. I'm not going to be hesitant. I'm not going to be indecisive. When you tell me to go down this street, I'm going, whether it's dark or not. That's what the whole Psalms is about, trusting God. When he talks about Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd. When you think about a shepherd, as a man,
Yes.
God is saying, I need you to, one, I'm your shepherd, but at the same time, you're made in my image. So there's going to be sometimes that you have to be shepherd, especially of your own home. And I
That's
always
right.
tell men that I counsel, you are the pastor of your home. The
That's
most
right.
authoritative voice in your house is your voice. So when your children hear, yeah, I mean, stuff
That's
in
right.
their minds, they're hearing what dad said. They're hearing what
That's
mom
right.
said. Yeah, I mean, don't
That's right.
smoke. Yeah, I mean, drugs is bad for you. If they start cussing and acting wild, you get out of there. You hear that stuff in your head. That's what your parents taught you. Yeah, I mean,
That's right.
and Christ said, he said, my sheep shall know my voice.
And a stranger they will not follow.
Absolutely. So now when we get back in alignment to where God wants us to be and what He wants us to do, it changes everything, because now
That's
you're
it.
in tune. You're
That's
in
it.
tune. You have no
That's it.
choice but to hear. Every morning I get up. I get up 3 to 4 o'clock every morning, between 3 and 4. Most people sucking their thumbs, rolling over, slobbing on their pillows, whatever. You know what I mean? But for me to operate on the level that God want me to operate on, I have to be up when everyone else is asleep, when most of the world is asleep, at least on this coast in this time zone. So during that time, God is working on me. He's showing me things. You know what I mean? One of the scriptures, He says, when you confide in me, I'll show you things that you didn't know. So to me, that means things that I didn't know. These are God's secrets. He thinks high enough of me to say, I trust you with my secrets, because these secrets are going to help someone else. So I can only trust them to people that will be obedient with it. Not just hear it and not just read it, but apply it. So when I give you these secrets, I need for you to go forth and you to help someone else. There's a redemptive element attached to all of God's secrets. And the redemptive element, most of the time, it's not for you. Most of the houses that God has allowed me to touch, I never slept in them, bro. I never laid my head down in them, bro. I never spent the night in them, bro. So they wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Those houses wasn't for me. When I approached these abandoned houses and God gave me that insight, the roofs may be gone, the wires are stolen out of there, the copper's gone, the electric is bad, the roof got holes in it, the walls are broken down. These places are, in the natural eye, these places are dumps. Literally. People, when I bought, man, I hope you knock that house down. That's what the neighbors say to me when I come in these communities. I hope you knock that house down. That's bringing my property value down. And in my mind, God already showed me the finished product. He showed me the family that's going to be moving into that home. I can't see their faces, but he showed me the father and the mother in the kitchen cooking together. He showed me the kids sitting at the dining room table doing their homework with one another. He showed me family gatherings. You know what I mean? He showed me the love, the sacrifice that's going to be made for that family. So when he's showing me that, the house is still in its abandoned state. It's still in its broken state. I hadn't even took a hammer in there yet. The windows are still gone, but I see the finished product. I see the colors on the wall. I see the finished floors. I see the bathrooms and the kitchens functioning properly. I feel the warmth and the love in there. You know what I'm saying? And my guys, you know, it took them a while for them to be able to see it the way that I see it. But after I explain it to them over and over, they get it now. But in the beginning, it was like, Dre, I don't know how we gonna do this. Some of the houses they give me, JB, burnt up, brother, to a crisp. But God showed me the finished product, and every house that I approach reminds me of me when I was broken.
Wow. And that's so important.
It reminds me of me when I was broken.
That's important that you say that right there. Right there.
Yeah.
Right there,
people
bro.
would have thrown me away. When people abandoned me. When people, you know, nah, he ain't gonna grow up to do. Yeah, you know what I mean?
That's deep.
They would have gave up on
me. It's this video that's on Facebook that I seen. Mm-hmm. And it was this broken, it's this lady who they give her abandoned animals who have been like left abandoned, right? So they brought her this malnutrition horse. The horse had been abandoned. He hadn't been fed, and he was skinny, like bones. I mean, like bones is brittle, looking like he was like inches away from death. So they was like, yo, they called her first because they was about to put him to sleep.
Wow.
So she said, bring him to me before you make that decision. Let me look at him. So they brought her the horse. She grabbed the horse by the face and looked the horse in his eyes. And she said, you can't kill this horse. They was like, what do you mean? Look at him. She was like, yo, you can't kill him because I still see fight in him. He wants to live.
Right. Yeah.
And and that is how God, when people count us out, when people think that it's nothing left in us, it is God that is seeing the fight that's still in us. And even if we don't have no fight in us, he has the ability to put fight in us to make us live, man. When you just said that, man, the example of you being broken, how when God shows you the future families living in these houses, right? He's showing you that why the house is still in its broken state, why it's still in its decaying state. But he's showing you them eating dinner. You're seeing the end result. And that's a powerful thing. And that's why we're
Yeah,
having this spiritual discussion, because we want to get our men back so that they can hear God,
that's
that
right.
they can see things
Mm-hmm.
like that, how God is showing you, how God is showing me. In the midst
Mm-hmm.
of the war, in the midst of the struggle,
That's
God
right.
still gives us joy and gives us hope and gives us an expected end in the
That's right.
midst of the issue. And there are a lot of
Yeah.
men that are watching right now that got issues, Dre.
Mm-hmm.
They got problems. They are
Mm-hmm.
broken and they are abandoned within
That's right.
themselves. That's why this is so powerful, and
Yeah.
everything that you're saying, it created a level, or a I'm gonna use the word, a tsunami of hope that can
Yeah, man.
push and move some things around in the heart and hearts of a lot of men, because there are a
Yeah.
lot of issues that have made our hearts hard, that have made
Yeah.
us stubborn, that have made us stuck. And it is
Mm-hmm.
the most high that can push that release valve, that can
That's right.
open the man up, because we're afraid to be vulnerable. Men don't like
Yeah.
to be vulnerable. We don't like to feel weak. We don't like to
Mm-hmm.
feel. But it is God that sees the fight in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of you.
That's
It
right.
may not look like it, but God wants you to live.
Right. Well, you got to remember, he's saying, I made you in my image.
That's right.
I made you
Right
in
back
my
there
image. So what he's saying is, I see myself inside of you.
in you. Wow. Say that again, Dre. Say that
I
again, man.
see
Say that again.
myself inside of you. And
That's
that's all
powerful.
he's looking for. That's all he's
Himself
looking for.
inside
He's
of you.
trying to get us to see it though.
That's right.
So when we think about spirituality, he's telling you, I gave you my spirit. And when I look at you, I don't see Jermaine. I see my spirit in Jermaine. And my spirit is great in him.
That's right.
My spirit is powerful in him. It has taken dominion because of him allowing me to use his vessel.
Yes.
Peter said, yes, use my boat. But what God was really saying to Peter, what Christ was really saying was, I want to use you.
That's right.
You are the vessel that's
Yes.
going to carry my word from here to there.
To there.
But
Yep.
but I need to give you this natural example of me saying, let me use your boat for a while, even though I know you're
Yeah.
tired. You understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though I know
Yeah.
you've been out there on the water all this time, you know what I mean? But now that you tired, let me use you now,
Let me use
because
you.
I
Let
can
me use you.
restore you. I
Yeah.
can resurrect you, and I can have you see the image that I put inside of you. So
Wow.
now, if we're saying this is the instructions that he left from the beginning, apply this. But in applying this, that means we have to cast out all the other imaginations.
That's right.
So we
And
can't
every high
do some
thing.
of the same things that we used to do,
That's right.
because that will prescribe a different image onto us.
That's right. That's right.
So in removing all of these other images,
Images.
it takes a practice, and it takes
That's
an
right.
exercise that we have to create a habit out of. One of the things that
Wow.
I did to bring my carnality mind and flesh under submission was fasting.
Hmm.
I had to learn how to turn down the strongest urge that I have. The
Yes.
strongest urge is to feed the flesh,
That's right. And
whether
whatever
it's
you feed
food,
gonna be the
whether it's
strongest.
sex, whether it's drink, whether it's drugs, whether it's whatever. That's the strongest urge that you have to learn how to master. And until you bring that under discipline, under submission, he can't dwell in you. He can't use you, because you have made these drugs that are literally from the earth. It's almost reversed. It's like when we get hooked on alcohol and drugs and different. It's like those things have taken dominion over us. But the earth has taken dominion over us. And that's the opposite of what God said. He said, I gave you dominion. I didn't want for that plant or that barley leaf or that cocoa to have dominion over you.
Wow.
I wanted you to have dominion over it.
Yes.
So in getting back to his image, we have to bring that flesh under subjection, and it takes place by what we put into our spirit. The kind of time we spend listening to things. What kind of conversations are we having?
That's right.
That's going to provoke our spirit to in the image of something else. You know what I mean? Are we going to feed it godly things? Are we going to feed it encouraging things, inspiring things, supportive things, nurturing things? Or are we going to continue to feed it things that will devalue us?
That's right.
And destroy us and disconnect us? Because let's be honest, the true sin is being disconnected from God. That's the true sin.
Listen, that is complete destruction.
Absolutely.
Disconnect yourself from the Most High, and that's the problem.
If you do that, everything else is fair game. So there's no marking system as to which one is worse than the other. You disconnecting is the worst.
That's the worst. And we live in a society, we live in a world where we see the results of disconnection. We see the product. We see the fruit of disconnection.
So
surrounding us, all around us.
So the scene is the gift. Because there was a time we were in the midst of it.
That's right.
We're still in the midst of it.
We're still there.
But we know how to submit. That's and right. Not take part. But the gift is in recognizing that this is what's causing the problem.
That's right.
Because now if we can see what's causing the problem, God can use us to fix the problem. And that's what he's doing now. He's allowing us to come together. He say we're two or more agree. You know what I mean? I am in the midst.
Brother. That's the important part right now, Dre, is that us as men become examples.
Yeah.
Become examples of showing what it looks like when you connect with God.
Yeah.
Showing what that connection looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Showing what that connection looks like in our community, in our neighborhoods. Everywhere, showing the connection of God. Because that connection is dominion. That connection is purpose. That connection is love. That connection is peace. That connection is prosperity. That connection is joy. And us as men, that's what we need to get back.
That's fruits of the spirit.
What did Jesus ask, Dre, in the Bible? Anytime he encountered someone where he was about to change their life, whether it was through healing or deliverance, he always posed the question, will thou be made whole? Will you be made whole? Asking you the question, will you be made whole? Because that mean he's saying you to be whole, that's the true purpose. That's your true identity. When you are whole. Being whole is when you're connected.
That's right.
So God is simply saying, will you connect with me? Will you let me be your complete source?
That's right.
Of power. And I believe right now, my prayer is that every man that may be hearing this, or woman that may hear this at this moment right now, or you hear the replay, that you consciously make a decision knowing that the better version of you is when you are connected. The destructive version of you is when you are disconnected. My prayer is that you make a choice, a wise choice, so that your life can be better and greater than it has ever been. And like Dre said earlier, that his worst thing is to like miss the mark, to get it wrong. After living a life to your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70, 80, whatever that number is, but you come to the conclusion and God Himself says to you, I gave you decades to get it right. I gave you decades to connect to me. I gave you time to connect to me. But you chose a life to stay unplugged from the source that you were created to be plugged into. So before we leave here, I thank everybody that tunes in to Dirty Church Radio Unrestricted Conversations. And this is a four-part series that will be taking place every Saturday at 5 o'clock for the month of February. A month where we recognize a lot of um, Black heroes who have done great things in our world, have been the pioneering spirits and souls of Black men and Black women throughout our nation, throughout and beyond. So this is a great month for us to have this conversation that we reestablish. We take the throne back of our dominion that God has given us. That we don't no longer live a life being headless men, walking blindly, being stuck in a ditch, dying slowly, dying full of gifts, full of dreams, and full of purpose, and full of promise. But we choose to stay prisoners. So my prayer is that every man, that even in your sleep tonight, that you encounter God in your dreams, that He give you some answers that you need, that He give you some clarity about who He truly is, that He give you a greater understanding of why you were created and what you were created for, that men will become better fathers, better sons, that us as men in the community, that we will live and be better examples, so that the younger generation that is coming behind us would have greater steps to follow behind, that we get it right, that we make a decision today, that we make a decision today, February the 6th, 2021, that we say, I am a man, and before my creator comes back for me, I'm going to get it right. I'm going to embrace my destiny. I'm going to embrace my purpose. I am going to accomplish everything that God got for me to accomplish, so that when I leave here and I take my very last breath, that my life is empty of everything that I was meant to pour, that I don't die full, but that I die empty, that we complete the assignment that we were created for. We're going to have some last words of encouragement from my brother Andre Williams, and then we'll see you all back here next week, 5 o'clock. Spread the word, where we tackle the conversation dealing with our mentality. Go ahead, bro.
Hey man, that was powerful, man. God is He's truly using us. I just want to, add that I challenge the men this week, as you go to work and to the stores. I want you to find a brother that you don't know. Speak to him. When you say what's up to him, or how's it going, or what's good with you, I mean, like take a 2 to 3 minutes and actually listen for a response, because a lot of times we use that greeting as just a way of just saying hi, and we keep moving. But when you ask the question, "What's up? How you doing?" That's not just a greeting. That's a term that's used for endearment. That's meaning I'm wondering, is your soul okay? I'm wondering if is your life okay? Is there anything that I can help you with? So from now on, let's use that word when we say how you doing or what's going on with you. Let's take a second and listen. Talk to a brother that you don't know. You know what I mean? I took my kids to the shop earlier today, and with some brothers in there that I didn't know. My nephew owns the barbershop, him and my cousin. And I know them, of course, but the brothers in there, I spoke to everybody, man. Whether they knew me or not, I spoke to everybody because that's one. I'm showing my sons how to enter into a room. I'm raising somebody husband in my sons. I'm raising somebody father in my sons. So I want for them to see me in the capacity of saying when we walk into a place, the atmosphere is going to change and we're going to break down any tension that may be there. So when you come across the brother, I know here in the north, we've become accustomed to not speaking to everyone. You know what I mean? Uh, People look at that as being, whatever, weak, or why you speaking to everybody down south. Now that's the how my father and them grew up. They grew up speaking and greeting everyone, and it was just out of respect and concern that they wanted to make sure that their fellow man was okay. So I challenged the brother this week to just speak to somebody and actually take a moment to listen to him, because you may be able to impart something into that man's life, or you may be able to save that man from hurting himself or doing any further damage. A lot of times when people turn to drugs and alcohol, and they become depressed because of life and this whole COVID thing that's going on, a lot of people are falling into depression. And we don't talk about mental health, but we're going to touch on that next week, because we want for brothers to know that you're not out here alone. But the way to begin that conversation is, again, we start acting like our father, in the image of our father. Can you imagine us praying to God and him ignoring us? Can you imagine us praying to God and him ain't trying to hear nothing we saying? You know what I mean? He's not acknowledging us. He's not giving us any signs. We can't hear no instructions from him. Can you imagine that? That would tear us apart. So if our father don't act like that, then we can't act like that either. So take time and show people the God in you by speaking and actually listening. I challenge brothers to do that. We're gonna work on that image. And man, I definitely enjoyed this show, man. I enjoyed our conversation. Me and Jay always get deep. Y'all really just gotta peek in to our conversations whenever we get a chance to break bread with one another. And it's literally on a porch or on the grass or standing in front of a house. We talk like this because this is how God made us. But it's
Yes.
strengthening one another. It's iron sharpening iron. I can't
Right.
imagine seeing brother and not acknowledging him. He can't imagine seeing me and not acknowledging me, because that's not what
That's right.
God would do to us. So acting in God's image, we take time and we talk to one another, and
Wow.
we concerned about one another spiritually first.
That's right.
Everything else is extra. The investments, that's extra. It's spiritually first. We got to be in tune spiritually first, because we know what life is like out here. Believe me, we're not, oblivious to what's going on when it comes to being a black man and operating the way that we have to operate. But we acknowledge God. So sometimes God will put a hedge of protection around you
That's right.
when he has a purpose for your life, because somebody else's life is dependent on you making it through that day. Somebody else's way of functioning in this cold world depends on whether you show up at this place at a certain time and just greet them. Just tell them I love you. Somebody's life dependent on that. So when God has that kind of purpose on your life, he's going to cover you. He's going to be that hedge of protection. And that's all we want. We want to be made in his image. We want to act like it, though.
That's right.
We want to act like it. So challenges this week. Take time, speak to a brother. Definitely tune in next week, man. You can find me on Facebook and social media. I'll just give you one website. It's oneheaveninc.com. That's my nonprofit organization. The slogan is Resurrecting Families, Homes, and Dreams. And you can find me on Facebook under One Heaven Inc. And you can find me on Instagram under One Heaven Inc. And then the website is oneheaveninc.com. And resurrecting families, homes, and dreams, man. That's what I'm all about. That's a part of my purpose on being on this earth to help do that.
Wow. Well, listen, man. We thank everybody that tuned in. We appreciate y'all that tune in every time. Also, you can catch me Saturday nights, Dirty Church House Revival. Also, look for the project to be coming out sometime this year. Looking really forward to that. That's a project that I'm dedicating to my mom, who I miss dearly. Also, Sunday nights at 8 o'clock, Dirty Church Radio, Unrestricted Conversations. Listen, this right here, tune in this whole month, every Saturday at 5 o'clock, here with Andre Williams, Elder J.MILLER, aka Mr. Miller, the host of Dirty Church Radio, Unrestricted Conversations, man, where no issue or topic is out of bounds. God bless you. I love you all. I salute you. Thanks again, my brother. I appreciate you, man. And looking forward to this journey throughout this series, man. So have a blessed night.
You
Enjoy
too,
yourselves. Enjoy your families. We out of here. Peace.
Peace, y'all.